Hi everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life with MS. I'm Nareen, and this is a Funny Friday session. Now, looking back at my previous Funny Friday sessions, I know the stories aren't exactly funny. I mean, I'll find them funny because I lived through the experience, and I think this would be very much similar, but looking at the fact that I did I talked about volunteering in Honduras, volunteering in Ghana. I felt this week I can talk about another location where I volunteered, and that was Nepal. So I volunteered in Nepal in 2015 and 2016 to with a lot of friends, some friends that I knew from college, who also shared this love for volunteering. And all of us pretty much worked on rebuilding a village that had pretty much you know been decimated during the Nepal earthquake of 2015. So this is, you can imagine, it's 2015 September or October. I think it was September. But I just recently turned 23. I was there. I still had the ability to use much of my limbs. So thankfully I was able to at least walk around a little bit, hike around a little bit, do a little bit of volunteering activities. And of course, as part of all of that, it was of living with the other volunteers. And considering that at that point in time there was almost nothing in the village. I mean, they had all of the community members had rebuilt their houses out of whatever was left, but essentially there was no place for us to stay. So there was a certain you know terraces that we would actually live on, camp on. So it would be just terraces, pretty much dug on the side of a hill. And so most of the volunteers would live at the top level. Then right below there would be stairs going to the next level, and once you approach level 2 and level 1 being the top, level 2, if you turned left on the stairs, went through a small grove of bamboo trees, you would reach the bathrooms, which were essentially and these bathrooms were essentially glorified holes in the ground. There was nothing else. And but if you took a right from this from the stairs, you would after a short walk you would get to the kitchen area and the food area, and a few other things, laundry area and so on. And that was level 2. Level 3 had our showers, and again some more places for volunteers to pitch their tents. And then level 4 also had a place for volunteers to pitch their tents, and it actually later on became a small garden as well for other crops and everything. But at least in 2015, considering there were 60 of us there, not everyone could fit onto one platform, so we had multiple places to sleep. So thankfully, or I should say due to my condition, I kind of had, you can almost say, the the presidential suite of locations for my tent, which was about I'd say 15 feet away from like the stairs on level 1. So I was right there. Now my tent was a very small tent, like a 2-person tent, so it pretty much had just enough space for my rucksack on one side, and then me on the other. So and I remember it was, it was a lot of fun to kind of live there. And it just so happened that the way my tent had been pitched, there was a very smooth rock right under where my head went, and then I put my inflatable pillow on top of that, and it served to be a pretty good place to sleep. So now getting on to the story. So the one thing about 2015 and me volunteering there was, it was somewhat rainy, right? It was kind of during the southwest monsoon time in Nepal, and there, it would rain at night. So I remember this was my third or my fourth night out of 10. So I go to sleep and I notice that, okay, it's raining a little bit, and I think there was someone else outside who thankfully took all of my shoes, which were positioned, right outside my tent where the tent opened, and they put it like right under the tent so that my shoes wouldn't get wet, which is, I'm very thankful for that. But it rained a little bit, or actually it rained all night. So the next thing I know is it's the morning, and I decided, because it was day 4 or day 5, I would put on my clean pair of jeans, right? These jeans hadn't turned brown yet. They were, you know, clean. They still smelled like, detergent. So these were the good days, and I decided to also pair them up with, a nice, clean, bright t-shirt. And the weather looked like it would be sunny outside. The tent was already getting hot, so I'm just thinking, okay, this is a nice enough thing. And now, again, back to a little bit of backstory. So the way, where, the terrace where my one tent was on, it was slightly more leveled out because of the stairs going down to the kitchen and, washroom area. And so as a result, it had a slight depression. We're talking maybe a couple of centimeters like lower than the rest. So what that ended up doing during this night of, continuous rain, it had turned my tent into an island. And because I didn't know then where, where my shoes would be, I wouldn't find out until at least once the damage had been done. I decided to just step out of the tent, considering it was, a bright sunny morning. It was 5 a.m. We would wake up that early just so we could have breakfast by 6, get to do volunteering by 8. So we get started, take a step out, slip in mud. There's just mud all the way to where the stairs start, and I slip in the mud, and everything I owned, my jeans, my t-shirt, my hair, turned brown. And just because the mud underneath the tent had turned into a slurry. And I just remember thinking that, okay, fine, I mean, decided to try something new, wear new clothes for once. Also, my other pair of jeans were, drying, due to me washing it the previous day. So I just said, okay, well, I wait, I at least don't need to wait until I volunteer to have all of my clothes dirtied. So I decide to, walk down the stairs, since I was almost nearly there. And so I get to the bottom, and I see, another volunteer walking towards me looking like they just underwent a spin cycle in, in the laundromat. And she looks at me and she says, "Oh, I did the same thing you did." And so we both had that 1 second of connection of, just realizing that, okay, fine, it's not just me. Anyone outside my tent will end up having the same sort of experience that I did. But at the end of the day, good thing was I didn't exactly get hurt. Mud, when it turns into a slurry, ends up being very soft. And but yes, I think it ended up being the one day where I had to take a shower, maybe for a little longer than the 5 minutes we were allotted every day to shower. And that was just because it took me a very long time to wash all the mud out of my hair, right? And if you can see with my hair, it's a little on the curlier, messier side of things. So it's very easy for it to kind of clump in certain places. And considering that mud ends up clumping anyway, having my hair as a catalyst just made it easier. And and it wasn't the first time that my hand got stuck in my hair, but I would say that majority of the time that I spent in the shower was just to remove my hand from my hair because it wouldn't. And so I actually understood the importance of mud. And I might choose another mud story because there is another one that I have from Nepal, um, which I will be very happy to share. But at least as of now, I'd say that was my one embarrassing encounter in Nepal, where I decided to put on a completely new outfit, new jeans, new t-shirt, or at least clean t-shirt, clean jeans. And it took not 1 second for it all to say, yeah, no, that's not happening. So that was one story that I did want to share. And the one thing to note was, I had shoes with a very flat sole. And when I would wear them and walk around in the mud, those shoes would actually have a lot of traction in it. So while I would be wearing the shoes, I would not slip in the mud. But the second those shoes came off and I was barefoot, and if my bare feet made contact with the mud, yeah, I'm not standing straight at any point in time. I'm definitely on the floor. Right, dirtying another you know clean outfit that I had, the one clean outfit that I had. So I remember returning to Kathmandu. I was staying with some very dear people, some people very close to me. And I remember I see auntie, and she looks at me and she says, okay, we're getting you a new outfit. There's no way that you're going home with all the mud that Nepal probably has. At least at that point in time. I mean, 2016 had a very different sort of, you know, had a very different thing. The main difference I can tell you, and I'll probably get to Nepal version 2 next week or the week after or the week after that, or whenever in the future. Um, but 2016, the rain used to happen in the afternoons, so it became very hard to volunteer outdoors, whereas in 2015 it would happen at night. So you could wake up in the morning and just decide to go for a mud bath the second you wake up and step outside your your tent. So that was, one experience of Funny Friday. And yes, I hope you have a great Friday, and do share your experiences regarding, your embarrassing situations where, you know, if you got, a new or a clean outfit like me, how long it took you to decide to mess up pretty much the entire thing. um, so yeah, do share experiences like that. And of course, if you do have anything to say, or if you have any insight to offer on my story, please do offer them. I love reading your comments, I love responding to them. So the more comments I have, the happier I'll be. So thank you so much. This has been Narain's Life with MS. And yeah, I wish you a happy Friday and have a happy weekend. Thanks.